do. The last thing I want to do is study. Like, I want to be outside. Like, literally, I want to be outside. What is up, people? My name is Stacy and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'll be sharing some tips on studying. Like, I know that we all have to study, especially being nursing students. Like, that's like the name of the game. Like, it's literally like you're studying breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But today I'm just gonna give you some tips so that along the way you don't feel like, you don't feel like that's all you're doing, and you kind of add some structure to your studying. What I do love to do is I do love to procrastinate. If I see something over here that distracts me, like I'm doing that thing, I'm going on Instagram, somebody calls me, I feel like I gotta answer it. Like, my brain is like all over the place. So like, I get it. I do not like to study either. The first tip that I have for you is like a game changer for me. Ever since they came out with this feature on the iPhone, I've been using it like crazy. So the do not disturb, or the focus, whatever it's called on your phone, if you turn that on, I usually, if you don't want to miss an important call, you can like screen out who can call you. Like, sometimes I put my mom on there just because sometimes she calls me and she might really need me if it's an emergency or something like that. People can usually also reach you after the first ring. It goes straight to voicemail, but then after the second ring, it goes to your phone just in case it is an emergency. So you don't have to worry about that. So usually I put it on do not disturb and it screens out all the text messages and things like that, because I literally have FOMO. Like, if I see a text message and it's asking me a question and I can answer it right away, I'm answering it. I'm like, my brain is not like, oh no, I got to get this thing done. Like, unless it's crunch time and I literally have like 30 minutes to do something, like, that's not what my brain is saying. My brain is saying, answer it right now. So that feature is like a game changer for me, because I turn it on and I can't see any of the outside happenings, anything that's going on. So it like, that definitely helps cut down on my distraction time. Another thing that also really works for me is carving out study time throughout my day. So for example, if I usually like to set up my schedule and kind of put like what I'm doing at what time, because it just helps me be more productive. So usually what I do is I'll say from like 9 to 12, I'm studying in those 3 hours. So that way my brain's automatically like, oh, this is a study time. So like, I'm not planning anything during that time. I'm not cooking during that time. I'm not like making meals during that time. Like, that is for study time. And I feel like having it set there, like carved out, it like, again, like programmed me to know like I can't plan anything in that time. So it's like I have a set time for studying. If I don't do that, like, I'll just keep saying that I'm gonna study and I never get to it. It's like at the bottom of the list, essentially. I don't make time for it. So I always love to do that. If you're anything like me, it's kind of like I mentioned before, it's hard to keep my attention span for a long time. Sometimes just because the material might get boring, it might get repetitive, I'm doing it by myself. So I really like to do, I think it's called like the Pomodoro style technique of like studying. And basically, I think it's like 20, like the actual way to do it is like 25 minutes of studying and then 5 minutes of like break time. But I like to do an hour. So I usually do like 50 minutes of studying and then 10 minutes of break time. So it looks a little something like, for 50 minutes, I'll just be studying straight. Like, I'm not looking at anything else. I'm not being interrupted. I'm doing 50 minutes of straight studying. And then when my timer's up, I do 10 minutes of like Instagram, Facebook, whatever I want. And I usually put a timer for that too, because again, I could get carried away. You get sucked into those TikToks and the Instagram, like, I just need, or like whatever I'm doing, if I'm making coffee or whatever, like that break time is so precious and it's so like, it's like so needed that you definitely want to go over. So I would put a timer for that as well. And that works really well for me, because then it's like kind of like I'm doing work, but then I'm getting rewarded. I would also highly encourage having a group of friends to study with, or not even a group. I mean more like one other person, 1 or 2 other people that you're gonna study with. You don't necessarily have to be talking to them, but it's nice to know that like you and your 3 friends are going to the library and you're all getting studying done and nobody's doing anything else that's fun. I know that's like terrible to think that way, but it's like, then I don't have FOMO, because I'm like, oh, we're all here studying. So basically what I'm saying is like get an accountability crew. Another thing that I like to do with the accountability also is like I like to do Zoom silent study with some of my friends. And basically what you do is like if I'm at home, a lot of my friends live in another state than I do because I go to school in another state, and I will put on silent Zoom and we'll just be there in silence doing our work, but it's another accountability method. And we also ask questions if we have some questions about the material. So we'll go on and off, like we'll mute on and off Zoom, but for the most part it's silent, and it's a really nice accountability thing that actually really works for me. And a lot of times if I can't get myself to do work, I'll just hit up one of my friends and be like, hey, do you want to join accountability Zoom and just be on silent Zoom? And usually they say yes, and it's like perfect because it's like a win-win. My last really important tip that I think is learning your studying style. So I am the type of learner that I learn in all different types of ways. So I like to listen to podcasts, or I'll listen to my lectures on the drive-in. I also like to look at my notes and actually like look at my lectures and actually take notes. So I can have something written, something tangible that I can look back at. I also like to use my friends. I like to teach the material. I feel like teaching is a good way to know that you have a good grasp on the material. So I always encourage like getting another friend that you can talk through the material once you're like, you've kind of like, done some stuff with that material and you're a little bit more familiar with the material. I would say try to teach it back to someone. So I would really say like find your learning style and stick with it. For me, all of those things work. I like to have like different methods, but for some people it might just be audio. It might just be taking notes. It might just be talking to another person, but I would recommend like really finding what works for you. I also make study guides, and stick to that because that's really what's gonna help you succeed. I hope these study tips were helpful for you, and I hope they help you stay on track and really enjoy your summer and just really like enjoy life. Studying is important, but it's also like creating a work-life balance. So I really hope that these tips helped you out. And if you did like this video and you found it useful, please comment, like, and subscribe. Also, a lot of you have been letting me know in the comments like what kind of videos you'd love to see, and I'd love to hear more about that. And I just love hearing from you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out.